Welcome to the Prospective Doctor Podcast, brought to you by Med School Coach. Pre-med and medical students alike are encouraged to tune in each week for tips on how to become a strong med school candidate, gain acceptance into the school of your dreams, and succeed on your journey toward residency and becoming a doctor.
Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to have a very special guest today. And I know that I say this every week, but I actually mean it. We have Dr. Robyn Tiger, and I'm just going to give her a little opportunity to tell us a little bit about herself and her journey to medicine.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for calling me special. It's awesome. Yeah, my name's Dr. Robyn Tiger. Tiger like the animal. I get a lot of questions like, is that really your name? And yeah, the answer is yes. I married a really cool doctor also named Tiger. In the practice, they called him he Tiger and I was she Tiger, so they didn't confuse us. So my journey in medicine actually began back in the third grade. Mrs. Miller, if you're out there listening, you influenced me tremendously when she rolled out this life-size skeleton. And I realized at 8 years old that the skeleton was not just a Halloween costume or a decoration, but it was actually inside our bodies. And I knew at that moment that I wanted to be a doctor and learn everything I could about the human body. So fast forward, I became a doctor and I practiced radiology for many, many years. It was hard deciding what field to practice, but I liked everything. And so radiology afforded me the ability to work with patients of all different types of ages and genders and issues. And so it was so much fun. And again, back to that skeleton, looking on the inside. And, for many, many years, I was pretty okay. But then over time, I became really, really stressed and really anxious and what I come to now known as burned out. And I was juggling a lot, juggling my job, little kids, a spouse, a house, a dog, saying yes to everything, wearing lots of hats. Yeah, being on every board, every committee imaginable. And I started to develop all of these ailments. I didn't really know what was going on at the time. Migraines, bleeding gums, headaches, mentioned reflux, my body hurt. I got these really weird paresthesias where, for those of you listening, that's like numbness in my hands, in my feet. And I would be doing things like a breast biopsy, for example, and I would feel numb in my hand, which isn't a good thing when you're doing a biopsy. And of course, as a doctor, what do? We think the worst. And so I was convinced I had some debilitating neurologic disease. But I came to understand through my journey that everything that I was experiencing was just related to chronic stress, and that there was really nothing wrong with me at all. And I learned that because after seeing lots of doctors and taking lots of medications, and of course, as a radiologist doing lots of imaging, which all came up negative, of course, and not getting better, I started to figure out, okay, well, I got to take care of myself. I have to figure out what's going on, because what I didn't mention was that I also had some pretty dark thoughts. Like suicidal thoughts. Mm-hmm. And at that time, you don't really talk about that. I just thought I was all by myself feeling the way I did. And I was able to reverse every single thing that I described to you by learning self-care, by learning how to care for my body and care for my mind in a way that we never learned in medical school. So everything I described to you completely went away, everything. So here I am, sharing with you my journey, because I want to help every single medical student out there. I want them to know that they're not alone and that stress is going to happen, but there are simple and effective things that you can learn to do so that you can feel better, so that you can be your healthiest version of yourself. And here we are.
I love that. And I think I just want to hit on a few things that are very important that you talked about. Firstly, I love that you mentioned that you chose to become a radiologist because you know a little bit about everything. And I'm a family doctor, and we kind of say the same thing, but in actuality, the radiologists know everything because the patient isn't there in person. So you just have to think about all of the different differentials and everything. And it's really fun. But what you also mentioned is as you advanced in medicine, you became overwhelmed with saying yes to everything and trying to be on every committee and do everything like a superwoman, which a lot of people like to do. And that can definitely take a toll on a person, as well as kind of just trying to juggle home and work. And they try to call it work-life balance, but it's hard to find that balance. So you decided to figure out what else was out there. And you were starting to notice that it was starting to affect your body, which a lot of students may not know. There are a lot of things that go on that stress can actually affect in every aspect of the body. And a lot of times it will lead to some misdiagnoses or a lot of tests and things. And when you try to break it down and get to the basics of what your body actually needs and what your mental health needs, you can feel a lot better. And the fourth thing that you mentioned was you were feeling pretty down, like you had thoughts of wanting to hurt yourself and you thought that you were alone. And unfortunately, that's something that's common in the medical field when people get burnt out. So we definitely want the listeners out there who may be stressed with studying or life things to know that there's always help out there and don't suffer in silence.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Several decades ago when I was going through this, I didn't know that other people were feeling like I was feeling, and I hadn't put it all together. I thought I had this disease and this illness and all these things happening. And there are a lot of people suffering out there. And as I said, everything that I was experiencing was actually a normal reaction to an abnormal situation, right? It's really what it is. It's that our minds and our bodies don't know the difference between a real emergency and a thought that we're having. So it reacts the same way. And then it takes a toll on our bodies and our minds, and it expresses itself in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And from that, you have founded StressFreeMD. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't want to be the best kept secret, right? I mean, I felt completely obligated to share with other doctors what I learned. And, unfortunately, because this is such an epidemic, there are so many other people who are suffering. And I came to understand by reading the literature that who these people were. Medical students begin suffering early on. And I'm going to share this with you, not to scare you, but I'm going to share this with you because it's super important that you're informed. So in 2016, JAMA, if you haven't seen it, it's the Journal of the American Medical Association. It's a journal that you'll come to know, had a study, and it showed that 1 in 4 medical students are depressed or have depressive symptoms. Okay, that's 25% of medical students. 11% of medical students had suicidal thoughts, and only 15% of medical students sought help, which means 85% of medical students who are suffering didn't seek help. I'm just sharing these numbers with you because I didn't know this when I was a medical student. And this was back in 2016. So it's very possible that these numbers have gone up, particularly with the pandemic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so now we're going to fast forward a little bit. Medscape, which is a really important organization, came out with the Physician Burnout and Suicide Report for 2021. And what they've told us is that physicians pre-pandemic, 50% of them, half of them were burned out. And now 2/3 of all physicians are burned out. That's a huge number that went up in just this year. And 89% of physicians are somewhere on the depression scale. And less than 30% of physicians care for themselves on a regular basis. So we've got these two sets of numbers. We know these problems happen in medical school, and we know what's happening right now. So the awesome news is you are early on. So you can learn how to take care of yourself now so you don't end up becoming one of those negative statistics.
Absolutely. So how do you recommend that pre-meds and med students and even residents practice self-care at a time where their schedule may not be as flexible?
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to talk about self-care as being a way of life. It's not like, okay, I'm going to take that hour and do this. Of course, when you have that hour to do whatever it is, that's awesome. But the reality is you brush your teeth, you eat, right? These are things that you do every day. So taking care of yourself is actually something that should be a way of life. It puts you in the driver's seat of your own health. Everything otherwise is just passive. You're like in the backseat of this car and all this stuff's happening to you. And the importance in taking care of yourself is that stress is associated with a lot of chronic diseases, right? We know that. You're a family doc, right? So heart disease, stroke, diabetes, cancer, all of these things, inflammation, huge cause of disease. But you can take care of yourself and become actively involved in your own mental and physical health. And self-care looks like a lot of things. In med school, you're going to learn, if you haven't already, a ton of anatomy and physiology. But what you don't learn is that you have superpowers. You're not only a superhuman, as a superhero, because you put on your cape and take care of other patients, because you are superheroes. Absolutely. But you can be your own superhero, put your own cape on. You learn all this anatomy and physiology, but you don't learn how to work with it, that you can actually use your own physiology to feel better in any given moment. You can actually work with your mind to think in a different way, to feel better in any given moment. You just have to learn how. So that cape isn't only for your patients, that cape is for you to take care of you. And then you can take care of your patients, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
At Med School Coach, we know that getting into medical school is hard. In fact, 60% of pre-meds who apply to a medical school don't even get accepted. And if you want to get accepted into a top medical school, it's even harder. That's why more students than ever are turning to MCAT tutoring by Med School Coach. Our tutors are all 99th percentile scorers, have been through rigorous training, and can help raise your MCAT score by 12 points or more. You need every competitive advantage you can get to get into med school, so why not get one-on-one tutoring from Med School Coach? Our expert team will create a custom program just for you and help you master MCAT content where you need the help most. You'll raise your MCAT score. We guarantee it. Visit us online at medschoolcoach.com and use offer code PODCAST10 to save 10% up to $400 on a Med School Coach MCAT tutoring package. You can achieve your medical school dreams, and Med School Coach can help.
In self-care, there are certain ways you can breathe. There are certain ways you can actually breathe to make yourself feel calmer, to make yourself feel more awake, just with your breath. There are ways you can move your body to relieve chronic tension, neck, shoulders, back, hips, all those places that we're like, oh, ouch, right? We feel like the Tin Man from the Wizard of Oz, right? Yeah, there are ways you can think in working with managing your mind to understand that your thoughts are incredibly powerful, but that you get to choose if you want to believe them or not. And most of the time, thoughts are just words that your brain makes up. You don't even have to believe them, right? So learning how to breathe, how to move, how to think, these are things that you do every single day, just like brushing your teeth. So it doesn't take a lot of time. Now,
that is so true. And I love the phrase you just said, thoughts are just words that your brain makes up. Because that's very important, especially when people have a lot of thoughts going on and things. Think new thoughts, think happy thoughts, think wonderful thoughts. And every day is going to be different. And some days may be harder than others. But there's always something in the future to look forward to. And even if you're struggling now and learning certain things or some certain rotation or something like that, it's for a limited amount of time. So you'll learn what you have to do. And you, while you're doing that, you need to figure out ways that keep you yourself and keep you feeling good and keep you feeling pumped and keep you healthy and moving forward.
Absolutely. And remember, you are medical students. You can do hard things.
Yes.
You are here. You made it. You're right where you need to be.
Absolutely. So you also coach physicians. How may coaching be a helpful mechanism in terms of self-care?
Yeah, so I'm a trauma-informed self-care coach. So I specialize in trauma. I work with a lot of people who have trauma, and then we all actually have some sort of trauma, right? And for me, as a self-care coach, I believe that the formula, like we're doctors, we like formulas in science, right? So the formula for self-care is managing your mind, being able to work with your thoughts and control and decide what you want to believe and how you want to believe, because our thoughts actually create our feelings and our emotions, which create how we show up and our actions, which ultimately create our results. So we learn how to work with our mind. We actually create our results that we want. So that's the first part of the formula. The second part is controlling our physiology, right? So learning how to work with our autonomic nervous system, which if you haven't learned already, it sounds like the word automatic, right? Because it's automatically your heart's beating and your breathing and all these things are automatically happening. But that's the part of your body that you can actually take over and work with so that you can feel better. So the two parts are very equal, right? It's not one more important than the other, but that formula is managing your mind and controlling your physiology. And that is what I believe to be the formula for self-care. So when I coach physicians, I coach them on both of those areas. How to work with your physiology. How can you be calm in any given moment? Be calm in the chaos, independent of what's going on around you or how you're feeling inside. And how can you think in a different way so you get the results that you want?
That's awesome. And I can just imagine how it is to have you as a coach, because you have a popular Instagram going on that I follow, and you just seem so soothing and relaxing and encouraging. And I was really looking forward to interviewing you today, because I was just like, I wonder if her personality and her voice matches this. And it absolutely does. So I think that a lot of people would benefit from learning about that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. Yeah. So StressFreeMD, that came out of me wanting to help as many doctors and medical students, anybody on this journey, wherever you are in our world, learn this huge missing piece of education that we don't learn in medical school, so that you can be your healthiest self, so that you can live your healthiest life, so that you can, feel amazing, even when everything around you may not be.
Absolutely. So outside of coaching, you also offer a CME course. For the listeners out there, CME is continuing medical education, and it's something that you'll become really familiar with as time goes forward, because after you graduate, you don't really have any classes anymore. Yay! But we are continuous learners, so you'll have to do a certain amount of hours every year in order to maintain your board certifications. So can you tell us about the course that you offer?
Yeah, Accredited. Actually, I have like 7 courses now. So
wow.
Yeah. So what happened was, in working with physicians over the years, so many physicians that have worked with me, whether it be in a workshop or a seminar or privately, would say, that was amazing. I need that 24/7. Can you put that online? How can I have access to that teaching? I'm not going to remember what I just did. Or there are physicians that say, I am so busy, I can't make it to any of the dates or times of things that you have scheduled. Can you put that online? I really need that. And so I decided that I had to figure out how to take everything from my brain that I teach live and put it online. And that's what I did. So I created the RX Inner Peace program, which basically teaches you how to write your own prescription for self-care. That information we never are taught in medical school, internship, residency, fellowship, and beyond. And it was important to me for physicians to get credit for learning how to take care of themselves. So through UNC, University of North Carolina, MAHAC, our local hospital here, I was able to get credit 25 Category 1 CME for that course. And then what happened is that several other people, nurse practitioners, nurses, and PAs, and people who aren't in the healthcare world said, what about me? What about me? What about me? And there were individuals who were interested in one particular element of self-care, whether it be, I can't sleep, I need help with my sleep, or my body hurts, how do I relieve tension? Or I want to learn how to meditate, right? Or I want a combination of those things. And so basically what I did was I took the 34 hours of content and I created 6 additional courses that are also completely accredited for doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, and PAs, and open to everyone. And those live in the self-care shop. So there are 7 courses. The main course, the mothership, RX Inner Peace, has some live coaching. We do weekly live group coaching where the physicians get to connect with each other. And there are private sessions as well. And then some individuals just want private sessions, and that's okay too.
Awesome. It's so wonderful that you took the stress that you were dealing with and you were able to help so many people from that. Like, who would have thought that your journey would have led to you having 7 courses and coaching and all of these different things? So I just say that to remind the students that we all have certain gifts. So as we're growing and learning and kind of going through those dips and turns in our journey, it's happening for a reason most of the time. So just pay attention, and maybe you guys will have some courses in the future to teach us about something cool or to help others.
At Med School Coach, we know that matching into the specialty of your choice and the residency program of your dreams has a dramatic impact on your career as a physician. And your USMLE score is the most important acceptance factor of all. That's why more students than ever are turning to Med School Coach for USMLE tutoring. Our tutors are all 260 plus scorers and have been through rigorous training. Plus, the average student who uses Med School Coach tutoring raises their score by 23 to 55 points. There is an enormous amount of material you need to know for Step 1 and Step 2, and Med School Coach can help you be smart about how to study. We'll create a custom program just for you. Then, we'll help you master USMLE concepts where you need help most. You'll raise your USMLE score. We guarantee it. Visit us online at medschoolcoach.com and use offer code PODCAST10 to save 10% up to $400 on a Med School Coach USMLE tutoring package. You can achieve your medical school dreams, and Med School Coach can help.
Absolutely. You all, hear me now, you all have unique and valuable skills, every single one of you. And what one of my coaches said to me a few years back was, make your mess your message. Make your mess your message. And that's what I did. I basically said, wow, what a mess I was. But you know what? I learned how to clean up that mess. And I'm going to teach other people how to do the same or prevent them. Since you are all just starting your journey, prevent them from creating such a mess, right? And you can do that simply and easily and effectively.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you've shared so many pearls of wisdom with us today. What is one final message that you would like to leave for our listeners?
Again, I can't say enough that you are not alone. If you are thinking a certain thought, if you are feeling a certain way, know that we are all in this together. And if you are thinking it and feeling it, other people have thought it and felt it or are thinking and feeling it right now with you. And reach out. Don't be part of the 85% of medical students that didn't reach out for help in that JAMA study. Reach out to anybody in your medical school that may be offering some support. Reach out to me. I'm happy to talk with you. Reach out to whoever you can find, but don't sit in this alone, because you are not alone. Completely within this community, we are here to help you.
Absolutely. Can you share how listeners may be able to contact you if they have any questions?
Yeah, absolutely. They can contact me either through Instagram at the handle StressFreeMD, or they can go to my website, StressFreeMD.net, and send me a message on the contact form. And I'd like to offer your listeners a really big discount on any of my programs if they are interested. Because you're just starting on your journey, if you use the code PD for Prospective Doctor, PD Podcast, half off, you can have half off on any of the programs in the self-care shop.
Thank
So
you so
PD
much.
Podcast, half off.
Is the half off the number or the word? Just
The word, it's all words, it's all capitalized. PD Podcast, half off. And I'd be happy to talk with anyone about that. But I just really want to be here to support you in any way I can. So
I'm sure our listeners really appreciate that. For the listeners out there, definitely check out Dr. Tiger's Instagram. We'll put it in the show notes, We'll also put the link to StressFreeMD in the show notes, as well as this code for a discount. And if you guys have any questions about that, you can definitely reach out to her. You can reach out on my Instagram at Doctor, spelled out DOCTOR, D as in the letter, Gram, GRAM, or Med School Coach. If you have any questions for us, if you want to follow up with another episode, or if you have any recommendations for other episodes. So we really appreciate you coming today and sharing your words of wisdom. I'll give you an opportunity to say goodbye.
Oh, I don't want to say goodbye. I want to say hello.
Yes. Until next time.
Welcome to our tribe. Welcome everyone. I'm so excited for you. I'm excited for all the amazing things you're going to do. And just know that I'm here for you.
Thank you so much. To all the listeners out there, feel free to click subscribe. You can follow both of us on Instagram. And if you have any questions, feel free to chime in. Don't be shy. Don't suffer in silence. And definitely check out some of those courses. That's a really great discount opportunity. Have a great day, and I'll see you again next week.
Each episode of the Prospective Doctor podcast is brought to you by Med School Coach. To access articles, videos, webinars, and free tools to help you succeed on your journey toward medical school and beyond, visit our website, prospectivedoctor.com. We hope you tune in again next time.